I remember a phase in my life when every Sunday evening looked the same. I sat at my desk, a new notebook in front of me, a fresh pen in my hand. I wrote down big plans, waking up earlier, finally studying consistently, working out regularly, eating healthier, spending less time on my phone. While writing these lines, I felt a moment of hope. This time, I told myself, it will be different. This time, I will stick with it. And then, Monday came. At first, things went well. 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week. But eventually I became tired, stressed, distracted. The new routines slipped out of my hands, one after another. I skipped them, postponed them, forgot them, and soon everything went back to how it used to be. What remained was that quiet, burning feeling of disappointment in myself. I asked myself, why can't I stay consistent? Why does it seem so easy for others to just keep going, day after day, while I keep starting over at the same point, again and again? Especially when I look at Japan, I see a form of discipline that feels completely different from what I know. Not loud, not harsh, not dramatic. More calm, quiet, deeply rooted, and I felt there is something behind it that I haven't understood yet. Over time, I became aware of a truth that at first almost irritated me. I did not fail because I was too weak or lacked character. I failed because I tried to make the change too big. I created radical plans to overhaul my entire life all at once, and then wondered why my system shut down. Yet my brain was not fighting the change itself, but the overwhelm. In Japanese culture, I discovered something I had never seen so clearly before. Rules there are made so small, so quiet, so naturally woven into daily life, that the mind does not perceive them as a threat. Consistency there does not come from sudden bursts of motivation or heroic resolutions, but from deliberately designed, tiny steps. And in the moment I understood this, I realized, the problem is not me. The problem was my strategy. When I began to look into this, I learned to see my own brain differently. Every time I tried to become a completely new person from one day to the next, a part of me blocked it. It felt as if an inner voice was saying, this is too much at once. This is unsafe. This costs too much energy. Neurobiologically, this makes sense. Major changes activate stress systems. The body wants to protect me from overload. My nervous system is not built to handle several huge shifts at the same time. But when I radically shrink the scale, something different happens. A small action, so small that it almost feels ridiculous, does not trigger panic. A glass of water after waking up, 1 page in a book, 5 minutes of tidying up. These are things my system can accept. From the brain's perspective, such mini actions send a gentle dopamine signal. That was doable. That was good. You can repeat that. This repeatability is the key. It is not the intensity of change that forms new neural connections, but the frequency. Every small repetition leaves a trace. A trace becomes a path. A path becomes a road, and eventually that road feels familiar, almost automatic. Then, it is no longer just a decision, but part of who I am. When I understood this, I stopped seeing myself as the enemy of my own discipline and started seeing myself as someone who had simply demanded the wrong kind of change from my brain. This shift in perspective changed the inner story I told about myself. For years, I called myself undisciplined, someone who just doesn't follow through. I compared myself to others who seemed to effortlessly maintain their routines every day. And from that, I concluded that something was wrong with me. Today, I see it differently. I no longer say, I am weak. I say, for a long time, I tried to grow in leaps, even though I was made for steps. I don't have to be perfect to be consistent. I don't have to have everything under control at the same time. I don't have to be strong every single day. What I need is a form of discipline that matches my nature. Small, gentle, repeatable. 1% better per day is no longer a phrase I write on a card, but a decision about how I treat myself. I no longer force myself into radical new beginnings. Instead, I ask myself, what is the next small, honest step I can truly take? And this kindness toward myself has made my discipline deeper and more stable than any strict program I ever tried. This brings me to the system that I adopted from Japanese culture, 10 small disciplines that gradually helped me become more consistent. For me, it means one task, one moment, one presence. In the past, I tried to do everything at the same time, checking messages on the side, working on several tasks simultaneously, and already thinking about the next thing on my list. Now, I tell myself, when I study, I study. When I write, I write. I allow myself to fully immerse in one activity. As soon as I focus inward, the task becomes lighter, clearer, and deeper. The second rule is Kaizen. I stopped striving for big changes and instead ask myself, what is the smallest improvement I can achieve today? Sometimes it's just one more minute of concentration, one more page in a book, going to bed a little earlier. On paper, it seems insignificant, but internally, something important happens. I experience myself as someone who moves upward, who walks their path. Moving forward becomes easier because it doesn't feel like a fight, but like gentle, honest progress. The third principle is seiri, the conscious removal of the unnecessary. I realized how much visual and mental clutter drained me. Every pile, every open file, every unresolved thing in my room stole my energy. So I began to tidy just one small corner each day, delete one file, sort one stack. I didn't try to make everything perfect at once, but gradually created space. The more open my environment became, the easier it was for me to focus. My thoughts became less scattered, and my daily life felt lighter. The fourth principle is shokunin, honoring the act of doing things well, even when no one is watching. In the past, I thought I should only give my best in important matters. Exams, projects, meaningful conversations. Now I feel how my sense of self changes when I value even small actions. Writing emails mindfully, placing a glass down carefully, leaving a neat message. I began to believe that not only the what matters, but also the how. Over time, I feel more pride and appreciation for my daily life. Not because I achieve perfect results, but because I take my actions seriously. The fifth principle is gambaru, quiet perseverance, even when it is difficult. I had to learn that discipline does not mean pushing myself forcefully every day. It is about finding my way back every day. Sometimes my only victory is, I showed up, even briefly. 10 minutes of work instead of nothing. 5 minutes of exercise instead of giving up completely. And this is what I learned. It is not about achieving something great every day, but about staying connected to my routine. I don't give up. I simply take smaller steps until they become manageable. The sixth principle is hansei, daily reflection. In the past, I tore myself apart every evening. I failed again. I didn't follow my plan. Now I ask myself different questions. What did I do well today? By how many % was I better than yesterday? Where did I make mistakes and why? Instead of punishing myself, I listen. I recognize patterns, situations where I often give up, thoughts that hold me back, unrealistic expectations. Instead of judging myself, I use these insights to adjust my plan. Hansei for me does not mean devaluing myself, but honestly reflecting in order to become wiser. The seventh principle is kodawari, the love for detail. It starts with making my texts a bit more readable, my sentences a bit clearer, my movements a bit more precise. Every time I choose to make something slightly better, I set an internal standard. I tell myself, I don't need to be perfect, but I want to approach things carefully. This attitude influences me from writing to work, from work to life. The eighth principle is kansha, gratitude. On days when I only saw what was missing, I felt drained. I felt that everything I did was not enough. But when I became aware of what I had, my abilities, the people who supported me, the opportunities I had, my inner state changed. I became calmer, more grounded, and found more inner peace. A mind that feels supported has more energy to maintain habits. The ninth principle is tiny self-care. Despite all these rules, I kept falling into the same traps. One of the biggest traps was my impatience. I expected years of patterns to change within just a few days. If I didn't see visible results after a week, I thought, it's not working. I didn't realize that deep change often begins invisibly, like roots growing underground where no one can see them. Another trap was wanting too much at once. I wanted to change my diet, improve my sleep, reorganize my work, use my phone less, all at the same time. Of course, my system collapsed. My daily life felt like a constant state of emergency. Today, I know. If I try to change 10 things at once, I lose everything. If I change one thing at a time, I slowly gain my life back. Then, there was constant comparison with others. I saw people who seemed to push through effortlessly, who never skipped, who were always productive. In my mind, this became the story. Something is wrong with you. You're not like them. But I knew nothing about their inner struggles, their setbacks, their doubts. Comparison didn't motivate me. It paralyzed me. And finally, there was self-punishment. A single missed day felt like total failure. I thought, now everything is ruined. It's no longer worth trying. So I learned to see mistakes as part of the path, not as proof that I am unfit. Over time, I began speaking to myself more gently. I understood that I am not broken just because I don't function perfectly. I am a human being, not a system that must always run smoothly. My brain had been trying to protect me for years by warning me against overwhelm that I had created myself. For a long time, I interpreted these warning signals as weakness, instead of as an invitation to treat myself differently. Today I tell myself, you don't have to accomplish everything today. You only need to take one real, honest, small step today. You are allowed to grow slowly. You are allowed to have days when you feel tired. You are allowed to stumble. Change is often invisible before it becomes visible. Just like a tree that grows its roots quietly underground before appearing above the earth, our new habits first build invisible foundations. The more often I remind myself of this, the less harsh I become with myself. Instead of scolding myself when I fail, I ask, what can I learn from this? How can I respond 1% better tomorrow? With this gentleness, my discipline has grown not as a rigid rule, but as a friendship with myself. Today, I no longer see myself as someone desperately trying to become disciplined. I see myself as someone already walking a path that is calm, clear, and long-term. Every time I apply one of these small Japanese principles, I reaffirm to myself, I am someone who shows up. I am someone who returns. I am someone who moves forward in small steps. If you hear this and feel that something inside you resonates with it, then you are probably already much further along than you think. You are not at the beginning, you are in the middle of your story. If you want these thoughts, this gentle but deep discipline, and this blend of psychology and Japanese lifestyle to continue accompanying you, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel, not for me, but for your future self, the version of you who deserves stability, calmness, and growth. Every time you take a small step, you tell yourself, I am on my path. And that is where true consistency begins.